How's everybody doing? Thanks for that, Crypto Duck. I'm sure you heard my little chuckle as you posted that. So I am Max Voltage, and we'll be going over 1559 and what happened today and what's changed. I won't go into all the gory details of 1559 because it's been rehashed and rehashed, but there are a couple things that did come as a bit of a surprise. Some of it didn't come as a surprise, but came as a surprise to some people. And then other things did come as a surprise. I hadn't realized certain things. So I will be going over a bunch of different things, including, we all know that 1559 was supposed to lower transaction fees, right? It was supposed to make everything cheaper. Of course not. Said that a million times. And not surprising that the first day it caused transaction fees to go higher. Not a big surprise. But I'll be going over that. I can't even read my own writing. We'll go over a new variable in how we're going to get paid out. It's something I hadn't actually thought of, and I'll go over that when I get to it. And then the priority fee, and what is it? What are we getting paid now, and what should we expect in the future? So first off, yes, I am Max Voltage, and I have been mining for about 2 years. And I was out of work from November till May. And during that time, I spent a lot of time working with the devs and some of the miners and trying to figure out if there was I know it's the word that the ETH devs never wanted to hear about, compromise that we could come up with, but anyway, long story short, I spent a lot of time researching, actually providing them some of the data, I got some credits, some of the documents that they provided as explanations, none of the development documents, more the statistics. So anyway, bottom line is I've dived deep into this particular subject, so I know a little bit. So let's get right into it. So actually, this isn't the first thing I wanted to cover. Let's cover this. So Trent is one of the guys in the all core devs group, and he's one of the more straightforward guys. He's not as outspoken, say, as like a Micah, where he will tell you what he thinks and consequences be damned. He's just flat out going to tell you what he thinks. Trent is a little bit more diplomatic about the way he states things, but he still will tell you the way it is. So he came out with this Twitter post today, and I thought this explained a lot of things. So people were coming back, especially miners, were like, well, geez, this was a great idea. The transaction fees are higher than they were before. So why the heck did you guys even go 1559? You guys are just trying to burn fees, and it's probably going somewhere, and all these different conspiracy theories. And none of that even is remotely true. So why were the base fees so high? So one of the things that came out, it was like COVID something, came out with a NFT drop. And it was very popular, and that caused a bit of congestion. Then, let me see here. Just want to make sure that I don't have any screw-ups in audio. Okay, good. You guys haven't said anything about it, so I think I'm good. Don't want the same fiasco that happened on Sunday. Anyway, so the other thing is that many of the mining pools, like for instance, Ethermine, disabled their payouts for a while, and some of the other exchanges actually disabled their functions. So this leads to a bit of pent up demand in the market, leading to, once everybody kind of releases the dam, it causes increased congestion as well. The other thing that I didn't really realize, but some of the mining pools, and they always say some miners, they mean is the mining pools, but some of the mining pools were setting the gas limit below 30 million instead of they were more like around the 25 million range. Because basically the maximum gas limit is 30 million in a block. That's now the new maximum. It was 15 million. But the idea with 1559 is that the blocks are going to be on average 50% filled. That's the target. And the way the algorithm works with the base fee is if it goes up, if the demand goes up where more than 15 million is being used, it will rapidly increase this base fee to bring the gas usage back down to 15 million. Well, some of the mining pools actually had brought the average gas fee down to around 13.5 million. Again, decreasing supply and demand. That's going to lead to increase in price. You decrease the supply, same demand, you're going to increase the price. So that's what happened there. Also, there was a lot of market volatility today. So that's going to lead to more trading as well. It's normal that you would think on a big change like this, you're going to have a large amount of volatility in the market. I mean, think of this as kind of like an IPO. This was huge news of changing the way that ETH does their transactions. Honestly, a very large change in the way that they do business. So yes, it's not surprising that there was a lot of volatility today. Obviously, that volatility will, there'll be times where it'll be volatile like this again, but overall, I believe the volatility will equalize over the next, I don't know, it could be volatile for another 5 to 10 days, but should equalize and slow down a bit as far as the volatility sometime in the near future. And then the last thing is people are trying out the new toy. 1559 is like their new toy. Hey, I want to burn fees with my new transactions. So some people were just trying to see how it worked. Just take, for example, Tim Biko. He was showing how he was doing transactions out there. Now he was doing it for example, but a lot of people are going into their wallets, seeing how it works. So doing smaller transactions, just to make sure that when they do larger transactions, they know how it works. So all of these things added up to more congestion. So any one of these things could have led to higher fees, but all of these things put together, yeah, definitely led to higher fees. We've already seen it somewhat, come down quite a bit. Last time I checked, in fact, let me go here. So right now the base fee is around 34. Well, there was a time today where the base fee was around 300. So yeah, so it's definitely calmed way down. And I'll come back to this. I'll talk about this in a bit, but this is one of the gas oracles. So anyway, so the other part of it is, and this is where I was talking about the priority fee. It had been stated, and I had stated this as well, from what Tim had said, that the average miner tip should be around 2 Gwei. But it wasn't that case. That wasn't the case today. Now there was somebody that was making Hasu and Georgios making the claim that, oh yes, these are going to be higher because the majority of these of the gas fees were coming from a small percentage of arbitrage investors, and therefore that will continue. I don't buy that. I don't buy that for a second. I think it's marginally true, but we're going to see the priority fee come down to that average 2 to 3 because that's all it needs to be. Tim was proving that all day today. No matter what the base fee was, make the miner tip 1 or 2, and within a minute your transaction is through. So more and more investors and wallets, more importantly, need to implement these features. Right now, the wallets haven't, so it's difficult for investors to tell the wallet exactly what they want it to do. They put in a fee, but how the wallet interprets that as to breaking it up between miner tip and base fee, that is where the confusion is. So let's take, for example, you have somebody that says, I want to pay a maximum of 100 Gwei for this transaction. Well, how do you want to break that up? You want to say 100 Gwei total without specifying the miner tip? Well, that means you're going to pay 100 no matter what. Now, with the new revisions with wallets that have implemented this, you can say, I'm willing to pay 100 Gwei for this transaction, or 100 Gwei per gas. So it's actually more than that. But anyway, 100 Gwei per gas in the transaction. So if the base fee, for instance, like currently is around like 35, and you specify a miner tip of say 3, well, that means you're going to pay 38, even though you specified 100, because it's going to allow you to pay whatever that base fee is for that transaction. It doesn't make you pay what your bid was like the old system. So that was one of the advantages of 1559. Again, the problem is wallets haven't implemented this yet. So it's going to be another week, maybe 2 weeks before all the wallets and exchanges have implemented all the features of this. So in the interim, we're going to see some higher priority fees than what there will be normally, say a week or two from now. So anyway, so that's the key is that yes, we're seeing a higher priority fee because not everybody's implemented all the features yet. The other part of it is, and this is where I can go back to the gas oracle, there's been a lot of these that have been estimating too high. I know we don't want to hear that. I shouldn't even be saying it. Yes, no, these are perfect. You should be doing 29 as the miner tip. That's perfect. But in actuality, the priority fee is probably, the necessary priority fee is less than what even do the 70% probability is. So these right now I would say are overestimating. They will fine tune, all the gas oracles will fine tune their algorithms in how they estimate. Like right now it says priority fee of 1. 1 to 2 is 1 to 3 is really where you want to be to make sure that you get your transaction through. So the miner tip is going to be a lot smaller than what is being stated currently. So that pretty much covers what happened today and why everything was higher, and why things may continue to be a little bit higher, especially with the priority fees. We're going to see priority fees that are going to be a bit higher for the near future. Like I said, in about, my guess is 1 to 2 weeks, wallets will have their new interfaces available for everybody to use. Like right now, MetaMask only has a beta. They haven't rolled it out to all users yet. So there's just a lot of things that still need to be rolled out in order to have 1559 have full effect. So we can expect to see our rewards continue to decrease over the next couple weeks and not just immediately be decreased because of this priority fee. So, okay, so let's talk this gas estimator. There's a number of different gas oracles that are out there that basically tell you this is what you need to bid in order to get your transactions through. And because this is new, people interpret this incorrectly, in my opinion. So, for example, let's say we want a 90% priority fee. And so we say, okay, fine. Or sorry, 90% probability that your transaction goes through. So you say, okay, max fee of 68. So I'm going to bid 68. But you have one of the wallets that hasn't fully implemented 1559. So that's 68. And let's just take the priority fee of 8 just to make math easy. Well, that's 68. Well, okay, that's fine. But the base fee is around 32. Why am I bidding 68? I don't understand why this max fee is 74, except for the fact that, yeah, you can bid 74 if you have a wallet where you can specify the priority fee. If you don't, then when you bid the 73 or 74 or 68 or whatever that range is, that's what you're going to pay, because there's no way to specify this priority fee when you should really be specifying the base fee plus whatever you think the priority fee should be. And like I said, these priority fees, I believe, are too high right now. And they will figure that out, and they will start recommending a lower priority fee as time progresses. So really, let's take the 9. You take the 32 plus 9. Really, you should be bidding 41, not 75. it with an old wallet interface. So that's one of the things that's causing these priority fees to be adding to miner profits more than they will in the future. So a couple other things I wanted to go over. So this is a page that I look at every so often just to see where different mining pools are as far as profitability. But today I'm looking at this for a completely different reason. So I'm looking to see this as the average reward continues to drop. So this 6,372 blocks that are mined, that's a day's worth. So basically this, we're looking at the last 24 hours. So if you're looking at the last 24 hours, about 12 of those hours, a little bit more than 12 of those hours, although this hasn't been refreshed. Let me refresh it. So this was at 2.45. This will go down again, I'm sure. Yeah, not much because I did just bring it up about 15 minutes ago, but now it's 2.44. So this will continue to drop and at least until, 7:30, 8 o'clock, once we get the 24 hours in. And then that's when this number will be much more representative of where we currently are from a profitability standpoint. But this morning, when I looked at this around 8 o'clock, it was 2.7. So we've already dropped about a quarter. So if we drop another quarter, we'd be about 2.2. So we're to expect to fall by tomorrow morning at around 8 o'clock. And then over the next week, I expect that we'll fall from around 2.2 down to 2.1 on average over a 24-hour period. So that's just something to be ready for. We're going to continue to see that. But really, I think the average reward we're getting right now is about 2.2. So, okay, one last thing I wanted to cover, and then I'll get to questions, is how do we figure out when we look at what the miner reward is, how do we know how much of that is miner tip and how much of it is MEV? This is a great site. So etherchain.org/blocks will allow you to look at this information on every block. Now, unfortunately, nobody is specifically pointing out what the miner tip or priority fee is, but you can determine it based upon this. So, because the only two things we're getting paid are the block reward of 2, the MEV reward, and the priority fee or the miner tip. So when you do the math, like if we look at that first one, so that reward was basically 2.13. The MEV is a little bit over 0.02. So you're looking at between 2.1 and 2.11 is the actual, between 0.1 and 0.11 is the actual priority fee. So that's obviously much higher than what we would have expected. So what we were expecting is about 0.03 ETH on average to be the priority fee or the contribution of the priority fee. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, which is the most interesting part of what I looked at today, is usage. So the way that we always looked at this before was almost every block was 100% filled. The capacity was 15 million and they were mostly filled. You get a couple of, an empty block here, but for the most part, they were completely filled. Now, I know this cuts it off. I think they need to redo their formatting of this page. Right now, they're just trying to fit too much onto this page. But you can see this is, 6 million. In fact, let me scroll to the bottom and let me just scroll over because we don't need to see all that other stuff. So you can see this is only 21% used of the 30 million. Now, with that said, the target is 50%. So if you see, anything less than 50%, okay, fine. Then you know that it's less full. And then if you get over 50%, that's great. So in this case, you can see this one was 20% filled, but even this is what I find fascinating is how variable the block's capacity is. So you have 21%, 60%, 28%, almost 100%, back down to 47, back down to 12, 42, 83. I mean, it's all over the place. So we all know that mining there's some luck involved as to whether or not you're going to get the block. Well, this is a whole new aspect of luck. Is great. You got the luck of mining a block, but what kind of block are you going to get? Are you going to get a block of 6 million, or are you going to get a block with 29 million? Because in general, if you get one with 29 million versus 6 million, you're going to have a much higher reward than, say, the one of 6 million. So this, like I said, this leads to a very interesting aspect of 1559. You can't just be like, okay, I'm mining with Ethermine, Hivon, Flexpool, 2Miners, whoever. It all depends on what comes up and how full their blocks are as to how much you're going to get paid for that block. So you take, for instance, here's a really good example. Mining Pool Hub. They got paid 2.01. 2.01, barely over. Well, that's because their block was only 13% and there was no MEV in it. So yeah, there's going to be some extremely low blocks because there's nothing in it. So the more gas used means the more transactions, means the more miner tips or priority fees that you can get in that block. So this is the one thing I haven't heard anybody talk about yet. I've been at work all day, so maybe there were some people talking about it today. I haven't heard that, but this is where that I think it's just going to be fascinating to watch, to see how variable the payouts are going to be, because some blocks are full and other blocks just are not. So anyway, those are really the main things I wanted to cover tonight. Like I said, this is going to be something I'm going to be watching and see how this continues to trickle down over the next week or two, because I believe it'll get down to 2.2 by tomorrow morning and then continue to trickle down over the next couple weeks to where we probably get to around 2.1. Now, if Hasu and Georgios are right, then maybe we'll stay around 2.2. So that would be interesting. That would be better than what I expected. So I hope they're right, but they've been selling a bill of goods to miners for the longest time, and I'm kind of tired of it. I vented on a private Discord server today, and I wasn't holding back. Let's just put it that way. And so I'm kind of tired of these guys because I don't know why, but they continue to try to convince miners that this is a great thing, that EIP 1559, you should be happy about it. And I understand why Ethereum's doing it, but that doesn't mean we have to be happy about it. It's not good for miners. It really isn't. It may be good for Ethereum as far as the price, which, yes, that is also good for miners. But yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. All righty. Does anybody have any questions? Let me, no hat on today. Although I probably should be wearing a hat, and was sweating in the warehouse today. Yes, total fees burnt, I know, was getting up there. I didn't realize I'd gotten over 3,000, but yeah. All right, let me go back up to the top because there's been a lot of talk. Let's see here. Yeah, Micah is awesome. I enjoy talking to him. He, early on when I was trying to learn more about 1559, and I was basically trying to say, can't we come to a compromise, blah, blah, blah. He was very blunt, extremely blunt. And I appreciated that. He wasn't rude. He was just very blunt. And some people would have gotten upset with him. I didn't. I just liked the fact that he was very straightforward and didn't pull any punches. So when I wanted to quote him in some of the things that he had said, I went back to him and I said, Okay, I realize that some of these things could be taken the wrong way. I appreciate the way you stated them to me, but are you okay with me releasing it the way it is? He's like, well, if I known it was being released this way, no. I said, well, could you rewrite it in a way that you are comfortable with? And he did. And I released that. I forget exactly where I released it. I think it was Twitter as well as on a Discord and things like that. But anyway, yeah, he's really a great guy, and he's also been very open about helping the miners understand as well as Tim. So anyway, I text Shinji, how you guys doing? It's my hair you're smelling. Oh my gosh. All righty, let's see. Yeah, priority fee's been given so many different names, but now everybody's going by priority fee. Didn't really see that EIP of changing the name to priority fee ever get approved, but hey, it was, I believe, Tim's idea, and he kind of runs things, so yeah. Anyway, I think it's the right name for it anyway. Ergo. Yeah, I mean, Ergo isn't more profitable. I mean, that's one of the other things is if you look at where the profitability, according to What to Mine, if you look at where the profitability is for Ethereum, Ethereum's still top dog, even after all this. Now, again, we haven't trickled down to where I think we'll end up, but we're still significantly above any other coin, of course, depending on what card you have. But in general, we're still above where any of the other coins are for mining. So why this is one of the arguments that investors said was we're overpaying miners. And what some miners took that to mean was, what do you mean you're overpaying me? I'm providing a service, and I'm providing a very good service. Like, yeah, I'm providing you a service, but I'm paying you way more than I need to keep you here. If I'm paying you twice as much as the going rate, why should I continue to pay twice as much as the going rate? So that was kind of the give and take with the whole thing. So I think some of the things that have proved out is exactly that they were overpaying. They didn't need to be paying as much. And yes, they could have just lowered the block fee, but this is, I think they think that this is better than doing that. So anyway, let's see. I'm not sure what the shoot to thrill 69. I was screaming at the TV, no. Not sure if he was talking about 1559, but so yes, is ETH mining still profitable? Absolutely it is. It's still the most profitable at this point. Yeah, burnt fees. It means something. No, the no hat does not mean anything. It just means that it's a weekday and I worked, and yeah, that's all it means. Saturday is the day I wear hats. In fact, I'll be wearing a hat to work on Saturday. And yes, I do have to work on Saturday at 5 a.m. in the morning. Anyway, but that's a whole nother story. So as you mentioned, so yeah, Ergo, here I come. I mean, Ergo is a good option, but the issue with that is it just can't hold the amount of hash rate that Ethereum does. So yeah, if everybody flocks to Ergo, then the difficulty goes way up and it becomes not profitable. So yeah, it's a balancing act. There's going to be people moving between coins as Ethereum gets closer to other coins. It'll balance out. It's what always happens. If one coin spikes in value, the hash rate is also going to spike, but it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of ramp up because of the increase in value. We saw that with Ravencoin when it spiked in value a little while ago. So that's just always the way mining's worked, and it will continue to work that way. You're right. I have no mods. Oh, I'll add you, Tech Shinji. You are not now a moderator. Let's see. Still playing catch up here. I'm sure Hyvon will eventually charge fees. Yeah, they're gonna have to charge fees. They can't mine the payout transaction. Well, they can mine the payout transactions in their own block, their own mine block. The problem is that you still have to pay the base fee. They can't do it like before, where the mining pool can define their payouts as having zero gas fee. They can't do that anymore. Every transaction has to pay the base fee regardless of where it's coming from. So yeah, they will have to change that. Unless of course they're taking such a high percentage that they can afford to pay them, but we'll see. Yeah, Tim definitely runs things. Yeah, I'm sure he was banning some people on Discord. I didn't get a chance to look through all of the things, but yeah, some people get a little off the wall. Not even a little. You can have, if you have a conversation, he's like, that's what this is for. But if you just rant, yeah, you will not last long on the ETH R&D server. You won't. You will get banned. You will get put in your place. So that's why asking questions, understand where they're coming from. You can basically state what your opinion is. They don't have a problem with that, but it's the way you state your opinion that they won't put up with if you're just going to rant and flame and whatever. So yeah. Yeah, most pools are charging now, which makes sense. So Serpent says the percentage we see on Etherscan, the rest if composed of MEV, orphans, minor tip. So if you see 82% under burnt fees, that means 12% went among MEV, orphans, and minor tip. That is partially true. A bunch of MEV is getting paid off chain now, not on chain. So it depends. But in general, probably a good number at this point. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Serpent. I appreciate it. And if any of you haven't subscribed to Serpent, then I don't know where you've been. Because he is a staple of the YouTube crypto community. Has a great Saturday morning caffeine and crypto. Sorry, Serpent. But goes over the news of the week, goes in depth on things. Basically, that stream, as well as unfortunately Savage, were the two ones that I watched the most when I first started in crypto, and then got into Red Panda and so on. But yeah, I've always liked that caffeine and crypto that Serpent does. So anyway, go check it out. 11 a.m. Central Time or noon Eastern Time. So on Saturday mornings. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so Alexand asks a very, very basic and good question, actually. Has anyone been vocally against EIP 1559? Yes, absolutely. Miners had been vocally against it. There was stopeip1559.com that had been created by the Flexpool. The guys who were involved with Flexpool had gotten a number of mining pools to sign up and state that they were also against 1559. So yes, there has been an active against 1559. But Ethereum was like, nope, what are you going to do? You can hard fork, you can fork off of Ethereum if you want, or you can come along and just deal with it. And that's really what it came down to. And basically on the community call, and this was the most annoying part of it, is the miner voice was drowned out. BBT did a great job on that call. The problem is that he wasn't given enough time to explain, and other people were given much more time to be able to basically rebut what he said, which the rebuttals were complete false. And now what he had stated didn't come true, but that didn't mean that it wasn't possible. So anyway, this is going back in history. It is what it is at this point. But yes, there were people that had plenty of people that had tried to negotiate and get rid of it, EIP 1559. And then once we knew that wasn't possible, then talking about possible ways to ease the pain for miners, to not make it such a sudden change. Now, in the end, it wasn't so sudden because of layer 2, as well as some arbitrage off-chain activities instead of being on-chain. So there's a lot of things that have been going on. If you are interested in learning more about how we got to where we are, there's lots of streams. There were the streams back at the end of February, beginning of March, with the miner community group, as well as the Ethereum, like I said, the actual Ethereum community call. Also, in the interview that myself, Red Panda, Serpent, and Son of a Tech did, we got a lot of information from Tim, why things turned out the way they did, especially the fact that gas fees had come down tremendously from where they were. If we were where we were at like February and January with the way gas fees were, and then tried to go into 1559, yeah, that could have been really, really ugly, actually, to have that big of a change. But in the end, it was a relatively small change. You're talking less than 20% change in rewards, and that can be absorbed, especially if the price goes up by 20% or 25%, something along that range. So anyway, alrighty, I missed a couple of things. Yeah, no disrespect, but where the hell have you been? Hey, there are definitely some new people into mining. So I don't fault for the question, but yeah, there's definitely been a lot of people against it. Ban Little Duck. Son of a Tech planned an attack. We never planned an attack. Okay, so here's what had come up. There was a call with Micah with the mining community. So it was myself. I'm not sure if I may not have been on that call. But there were a number of people on that call. I know I watched that call, so I remember it. But what was stated was, or the question that was asked was, well, what would get the attention of the ETH core devs? I mean, it's not impossible to have a 51% attack. So, if the actual fees are so high, and then all of a sudden you take all the fees away, you may completely lose a large portion of hash rate, leading to a centralization of the hash rate, leading to a 51% attack. And Ethereum has consistently basically been like, nah, that couldn't happen to us. It can happen to anybody, especially given the right conditions. And that's one of the things we had been stating. So I believe it was Bitsby Trippin that asked that question. And Micah said, well, if anybody was able to garner 40%, 45, 50% of the available hash rate, well, that's when you'd get the developers' attention, and we'd have to do something about it. So that got the attention of a number of miners, and that's when they said, fine, we'll see if we can get their attention, because we're obviously getting just pushed to the side. So it wasn't an attack. We took a reputable and well-respected mining pool and decided that we would move our hash rate to that mining pool. And that was what was out there. Now, did that get some people's attention that Bitsby Trippin then got a new audience and was able to present a little bit more? Maybe, I don't know. But that whole thing got canceled shortly after that. Bitsby Trippin didn't want that to be a distraction going into a presentation that he was making with the Ethereum group. So anyway, long story short, that got canceled. All right, let me see. I'm behind a little bit here. We didn't really try. So I know, like I said, it was canceled. So most people didn't move their mining hash rate. Yeah, ETH profitability seems similar still. Yes, it does, because prices went up today and the actual impact of 1559 I don't believe has been fully felt yet, because the priority fees are a little bit higher than I think they will end up being, because the mining pools and exchanges haven't implemented all the interface in order to be able to specify clearly the priority fee and the max fee separately. And once they do that, then the priority fee will come down. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know anything about Son of Attack doing. It was Red Panda who spawned the idea. But yes, that intent was misunderstood, but I wouldn't say it was misunderstood. It was basically twisted by people that wanted to vilify miners. That's really what I think it was. They basically said, great, we can use this to make the miners evil and just use it against them to make people even more against them. That's truly what I believe happened. Let's see. Why do you think the profitability? What do you think the profitability will be for a 3060 Ti after 24 hours on what to mine? Do you think it will be competitive with other coins? I do think it will be competitive with other coins, because that's the way mining works. If something else is more profitable, people move to it, meaning the difficulty of that coin is going to go up, and the coin that people are moving away from, the difficulty will go down. So that is generally the way mining works. Now, it's not like a perfect market, say like the stock market, where the pricing is immediately recognized in the market. It takes time to move things around. It takes time for people to realize that something else may be more profitable. So Ethereum is still going to be one of the top coins to mine, just because it's safer. If you have a choice to mine Ethereum versus Ergo, and you believe that both have the same possibility of going up in price, most people are going to mine Ethereum because it's safer. It isn't going anywhere. It's the number 2 cryptocurrency. People are going to stay with that coin. Okay, so hopefully that answered that question. Let's see here. Do you think ETH development is affected by banks, big money people? Yes. Simple as that. Yes, I do. But not as much as, like, the devs aren't necessarily affected by it, but the direction and the influencers around it, say the developers of the clients, for instance, I believe that they're affected by big money. So there's a lot of things out there that, yes, they're all affected, and that in essence has an effect on the development of Ethereum. Yeah, more of a show. Yeah, it was a show of force. It was definitely not an attack. And all right, so I'm not going to address any of the attack things or the show of force things anymore. It looks like that's been pretty much beat to death. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's where ETH is. And Dad's here. Is there a fixed formula to calculate the burnt fee, the MEV, and miner's tip? No, there isn't a formula. There is, like I said, there are gas oracles. Like, for instance, what was the other one I had up? And this one hasn't moved yet. Hang on, I'm going to drag this one over. So this one hasn't moved yet. This is still the old way. Gasnow.org is another gas oracle. It estimates what the gas fee is. Again, this is fairly typical of where we've been. It hasn't changed now, but this is the base fee plus the priority fee. That's what's currently in the blocks. So eventually, I'm sure they're going to change this. to basically change it to where you have a base fee and a priority fee, but they have not changed theirs yet, like Block Native has. So this is supposed to be more representative, but you can see it looks a lot different. Well, the max fee is 75, just even to get 70%. When you actually look at the base fee is 36. 36 plus 4, that would be 40. Let's bounce, well, let's do one more. So 36, 37 plus 2, 39. See how that worked? So those numbers match up, but what it's suggesting to do versus what this one is suggesting to do, you can't really read it correctly. You should be looking at the priority fee and the base fee, and that should tell you what you will actually approximately pay if you get it into the next block. Okay. Do I think the merge will happen this year? No, I don't. Tim covered this in the call. He said that the merge could happen this year, but most likely would wait until next year. If you look at just what happened with 1559, I mean, it was slated for mid-July and they were like dead set on that, and they still delayed it 3 weeks. So right now they're like, well, we might be able to get it done by the end of November. They won't be able to get it done by the end of November. And even if they could, there's not enough time to test and to make absolutely sure there aren't going to be any issues. And as long as there aren't any attacks or any type of security issues with Ethereum, they're not going to rush it. The merge, as big as this was, the merge is bigger as far as the risk to Ethereum. If they screw it up, yeah, to get, it's one thing like with 1559, you're still on, I mean, yes, you're going to be on ETH 1.0 even when you go to the merge, but you're changing the validation. This, you're not changing the way it's validated. The validation still happens the same way. It's just the fee structure that changed. So yes, it's a big change, but POS is significantly more complicated than what they did with 1559. So therefore, they're going to take their time. They're going to make sure it's fully tested, and they're going to make sure they do it right. So that means most likely first quarter. Could they do it fourth quarter? I believe they're capable of doing it fourth quarter. I just don't think there's the momentum is there to do it, just because they want to make sure they get it right. The consequences of not doing this right are too high. POS has been what they've been stating since 2014, I believe, shortly after they came out. I mean, it's been forever. Shortly after they came out with proof of work, they said they wanted to move to proof of stake, and it's taken them forever to do. So again, not going to rush it. Okay. I'm trying to remember exactly where he works, but yeah, he works for a company that's related to ETH development of some sort. I forget exactly how the relationship is, but yeah, he does get paid in some way to do the work, is my understanding. But again, is he paid a ton of money? No, he's paid whatever the going rate is. So yeah, the Ethereum Foundation actually does pay for developers to do work. They openly talk about that on their all core devs call. Like, hey, we need somebody to do this. You know, can we get somebody? Do we need to raise the rate? And, you know, they talk about that openly. So occasionally they will kind of put out a call for people to do certain things. Let's see. Okay, let's see. He's not paid by banks to develop ETH. Like I said, there's a foundation, I believe, that he works for. I don't know. You can look him up. You can see where he works. I don't remember the details, so I don't want to misspeak. But it is related to crypto, and that's, yeah, it just makes sense of why he's in this role. Actually, I believe he covers this, and in fact, I know he does. He covers this on the call that we did with him. So go back and check that out. Like I said, I don't remember. That wasn't that wasn't one of the major things that we were asking him. He just covered that in his introduction. Okay, so the EIP 3554 delayed the difficulty bomb. So the difficulty bomb, and what they're doing is they are consistently like stringing it to the next hard fork. So there will be another hard fork in November, because that's when, shortly after that is when the difficulty bomb will go into place. They don't want the difficulty bomb to go into place, but they realize that it's an effective tool to prevent anybody from hard forking from Ethereum. Now, they've stated it's not hard to eliminate the difficulty bomb with developers. In fact, it's very easy, but it still is a barrier to entry from anybody wanting to hard fork and creating another Ethereum Classic 2. So yeah, they will continue to delay that difficulty bomb to the next hard fork each time they have to do it. So if the proof of stake doesn't happen at the end of November, that probably means that the Shanghai fork will occur, and there'll be some new EIPs that will get tested for that, and along with another difficulty bomb delay. Now, in the past, they have done hard forks that are just delaying the difficulty bomb, nothing more. So that's not to say that they couldn't just do that as well. So it all depends on how their development goes. Let's see here. I'm by myself. Actually, I got my neighbor into mining as well. So my farm right now on Ethereum is about 1.2 gigahash. So I've got 3 rigs, 2 computers mining away. And then I do have a few cards that are not mining right now, but they will be on Raven or Ergo. So should have about 100 mega hash, a little over 100 mega hash on Ergo. I'm sorry, not on Ergo, on Raven. That's right now more profitable on those cards. So, are you a manager at Best Buy? No, I am not a manager at Best Buy. Yeah, in fact, the people that work at a lot of these stores don't get anything. I talked with people at Micro Center, and they couldn't get cards when customers could, because they want to sell them to customers. They don't want to sell them to employees that are going to pay a lot less for them. Yes, they will definitely delay the difficulty bomb again if proof of stake. So basically, when proof of stake comes, they'll eliminate the difficulty bomb altogether. They won't need it anymore. The reason for the difficulty, well, the original reason for the difficulty bomb was to motivate the developers to create proof of stake, but they made it too easy to delay the difficulty bomb. So yeah. So anyway, so now they just are using it for a completely different reason that it was never intended for, but whatever. They're using it for that now. Okay, so interestingly enough, so the max voltage name comes from, I was big into cycling about 15 years ago. And so I became a licensed cycling coach. And so I had to name my business. Well, I have an electrical engineering degree. And if you know what voltage is, it's potential. And so my whole thing was having people reach their full potential. So that's why I called it high voltage coaching. And then I was like, okay, what can I have my tag be? And high voltage was already taken. And then I thought max voltage, and that wasn't taken. So I got max voltage on Twitter, and it just kind of went from there. People in the cycling community started calling, a few people in the cycling community started calling me Max. So yeah, it just kind of stuck. And so when I needed a name here, I was kind of like, well, it still kind of works a little bit, although we're trying to minimize our power usage. But anyway, that's basically where it comes from when I was creating my my cycling business. Let's see. That was my 3x30. It's doing great actually, but yeah, I think I have a receipt with my credit card on there that would state it's mine. And plus, hey, possession is 9/10 of the law anyway. So sorry, CC. So my degree is in electrical engineering. Right now, I'm actually an operations leader at a logistics company. So yeah, I have changed industries many times. But that is a discussion for a different day. All right, yeah. So alrighty, well, guys, I already went way longer than I had anticipated, so I'm gonna let you all go. But thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Wow, I hadn't even looked up to see like how many people were watching, so I just noticed it was 31 people. Wow. Well, again, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. If you watch the replay or are watching the replay, please hit like or dislike below. And if you are not a subscriber and would like to see content like this, even though it doesn't come out that often, please hit the subscribe button. I did notice that my subscriber count was 669. Nice. Anyway, alrighty, guys, have a good night. And again, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.